Hey guys, it's ANicWin, also known as Amy, and happy Wednesday. I hope you're having a lovely day. I am building a community lot in Windenburg, which is one of my favorite worlds, if you haven't been able to tell. I think it's really pretty. I also like that it's got a little bit of a mountainous look, but that just lended itself to my design here today. This is going to be functionally a pool. You could also change it to a rental lot if you really wanted to, but that would be really expensive. I tried it out. It was not worth what you have to pay. That's just all I'm saying. But as you can see, this is not like an Olympic style pool where you can have Sims go and do laps and that sort of thing. This is more of a summer camp, and that was by design. So my inspiration for this particular build was Dirty Dancing, which is possibly mortifying, but strangely, I don't feel embarrassed at all. That is the quintessential summer movie for me. There's just so much about it that I love. The story, the soundtrack, the watermelon scene always makes me giggle. The lift, both lifts, the ending dance. There's just so much about it that I don't know how you could watch that and not come away from that feeling good about the world, but to each their own. But anyway, so I watch that movie every year. I have it on DVD. I'm not even joking. It used to be on Netflix. I don't have Netflix though, so I can't confirm or deny. But yeah, so there's a scene for those of you who are familiar. If you've not seen it, I do seriously recommend that you go and watch it at least once. There are so many references in other movies about that movie that at least watching it once will kind of make some things make a little bit more sense in life. But there's a scene at the end of the movie when Baby is going to visit Penny after she's had her procedure and she's had her falling out with Robbie, and everybody's a little bit woke. Everybody's had that turning point. And she's walking down this little pathway where all the staff housing is. And you just see this, it happens, it's like 5 seconds. It's not even a long clip. But you see her walking, and there's these beautiful, vibrant red cabins with these little porches that have stairways off to the side, kind of like here, with these white, I think they're white railings. They might actually, the whole thing might be red, but I don't know. That scene always stuck out to me. I think it's one of the more important scenes, transitional scenes at least, for the movie, and I really just wanted to kind of emulate that if I could. Now, I did not choose to use red siding because in this world, and it could be my reshade as well, it looked really, really washed out, and if I was going to go red, I wanted that beautiful, bold red. I didn't want a softer red, which is kind of what it made it look like. So I went with pastels, and that was by choice. Unfortunately, I was a little bit bummed about that. I really tried to make it work. I even built the whole thing, and it looked like little washed out barns, and I just wasn't it wasn't the vibe, man. It did not spark joy. It was just not working for me. So I went back and did the pastel colors here. Now, I did use the pool tool to make a lake. It is still completely accessible. I do a lot of manipulation to part of it, and I even add stuff inside it. None of that blocks your sim from swimming, so it is completely usable. I put ladders where they can access inside. The whole right-hand shoreline that you're seeing now, that's going to be completely covered. I think your sim can still walk through it and get in. Mine did not try, but the debug plants don't usually block sims from accessing it, but it's going to look really weird if they try. Now, I am using terrain paint rather than terrain manipulation to kind of create a beach, if you will. There are air quotes. You can't see me, but I promise I'm air quoting. I did that to try to make it look more dimensional. This is one of those things that looks terrible until it's finished. So I think for an attempt, as I hiccup, I think for an attempt it looks okay. I see some things that I would have done differently. Like, for example, I started with the brightest layer first and then added the darker layers, and I should have just kind of reversed it and done a few other things. But anyways, I learned. It was a lesson learned, but it still achieved the effect that I wanted it to achieve. So this is the part where I'm just pulling out the debug plants. Everything that I used, other than some of the rocks that were not debug, came from the get together get together debug menu, because that's the pack that came with this world. So I wanted everything to match, I guess is the word that I'm going to use. I wanted it to look like it came from the location it's supposed to come from. So that's that. Of course, the plants and things that I use that weren't in debug were just base game. So none of that should disappear if you don't have all of the packs like I do. I really wanted the landscaping to stay as is. I didn't want any of it to kind of be compromised or anything like that if someone was missing a pack, because the landscaping in this particular case was important enough that it needed to remain intact, at least for me. So the interior for this one, it would be okay if some of the elements disappeared. Does that make any sense? I have no idea. I could just be talking. I was just so excited about this build that all of the details in my head and all of the like rationale and the thought process and everything, it was literally going like 100 miles a minute. I almost couldn't build as quickly as my thoughts were going, and so there's a lot of jumping around. You might notice a few transitions. I'm not going to call them out when they happen, but there are quite a few in here because it wasn't repetition this time. I jumped around so often because I'd be like, oh, I'm placing a rock here. Oh, I need to do this. And it was just like a squirrel moment. And I'd be across the map on the back side of a house and then back over here. And then it was very mobile. We'll say mobile. I was on the move, you could tell. So I kind of had to tone myself down just a little bit. Plus, I thought this build was going to be a lot longer than it is. I mean, I'm glad it's not, but I thought it was going to be closer to the 25-30 minute mark, and it ended up being, I think, 19. So that was a pleasant surprise because I really thought it was going to be a lot longer. But yeah, so I'm doing all of the landscaping in its entirety. There is some manipulation I do at the very end just because I changed my mind about a few things, and I'll point that out when we get to it. But I wanted this lot to look not overgrown, but very natural. And if you've ever been to like an ocean or to a lake or something like that, and I'm not talking like one of the high-rise beaches. I mean, one of the more like family-friendly, natural beaches, like the kind where they tape off where sea turtles have hatched. One of those beaches. There's grass everywhere. They don't really do a whole lot of maintenance, and that's because it's for the what? It's for the animals, the wildlife. I think that's what I was trying to say. It's for the wildlife that still lives there. So you're the visitor in this case, and the beach is really there to serve the animals and the nature that belong there. So that's what I was trying to do. Of course, in The Sims, you don't have animals just not like in real life, you don't have animals just pop up, but that's what I kind of wanted it to mimic. Now, in this part, I am going and pulling out towels, because initially that's all I was going to use. I wasn't going to throw down any of the loungers or anything like that. I end up changing that at the end, and I get rid of the umbrellas that you'll see in just a few moments. As you can see, every time I move something, it duplicates itself. I don't know what was causing that. I was not hitting the shift button. I wasn't hitting Alt, I think, to randomly place. I was just picking it up, and every time I placed it down, like clicked on my mouse, a double would pop up. It eventually drove me insane. I will point this shift out because you're about to see it cut to like far away. I saved the game and just closed the entire thing because it was driving me insane. I was like, I can't I cannot build this entire lot if everything's going to duplicate every time I touch it. That's just going to drive me nuts. So I did go back in. I backed out of the game and came back in. So that's the only time I had to do that for this one. So here in this back section, again, there's not a whole lot of room for activities similar to the other shore of the lake. So I really made that one landscape heavy. Over here, I wanted more items. I wanted it to look like little like alleyways, back alley of cabins, almost as if you could almost envision like another row of cabins behind it. Of course, I can't do that because I don't think that's a lot. So I've thrown in a bike. There's some firewood. There's a canoe. I think that's a canoe. It could be a sailboat. I don't know. You can't use it because we're not in Sulani, but aesthetically, I thought it looked really cool. I've got the clothing line. To me, the little details like that kind of make it look like people are actively using the cabins, and I really liked that little detail. That really sparked a little joy, a little chaos in my life as well. And I'm adding plenty of this grass. I know that it would probably be a little lower if it's items that people are using, but I didn't want it to be just on flat sand. I wanted it to really look like it was more of like it had been there for a while. It really belonged to the camp. It's loved it's well loved, but it's not like brand new, if that makes any sense. And then back here, this is going to be a picnic area. I'm calling it a picnic area, at least. It's got 3 picnic tables, as you can see, and I do 3 different grills. So there's plenty of space for everyone to use. Initially, I was going to have it flat on the ground like this. I decided it looked really weird, so I placed a platform and then just kind of replaced everything so I could lift it up just a bit. I was also going to cover it. At one point, you're going to see me grab some columns to put there, but I decided that was going to look really busy in the back, and it was going to throw everything off because it wasn't going to be in line with all of the other roofs, and because it wasn't technically an enclosed building, it just wasn't going to fit the vibe, the aesthetic, if you will, that I've already created. So as I shift and look around, I decided to just leave it raised and have stairs going up, but just leaving it open. And I stand by that decision. I think now, for sure, looking back at this from a different point of view, if I had added a rooftop, it would have just looked a little too busy for the lot. Or at least that's my perspective. You might disagree. But I'm adding another dumpster back here. I decided, since this is a camp, you would likely see several trash receptacles scattered about, because the idea would be that there would be multiple families and things utilizing the area. And of course, you want to prevent littering. Littering is wrong. It's gross. Don't do it. And I'm just sort of cluttering up the back here with a little bit more landscaping. The areas that I knew weren't going to be activity heavy, I added a lot of plants because I really, really wanted it to be busy. Like, that's the look I was going for. And then we jump into the first cabin here. I did all of the bathrooms, including the shower room, off camera, because again, I thought this build was going to be really long, and they're all exactly the same. I changed the painting on the wall and some of the clutter, but essentially they're all the exact same bathroom, and I didn't want you to sit through 4 of the same thing over and over again. I think it would have just been boring. It really wouldn't have been that interesting. But this first cabin, as you can see, it's very creamy. There's a lot of greens, browns. This kind of set the tone for the rest of the other ones. They're not identical. They're all different as far as the amount of bed space, living space, and stuff like that. There's different activities in each one. But I wanted them to still look like they belonged, like maybe they were all part of the same camp, but not the exact same space. So I think I nailed that. At least I did enough to where I'm pleased with the outcome. You feel free to let me know, but they all have the same paneling and the same floor. The curtains are exactly the same, just a different swatch. But I do use different beds. I don't use the same bed for each one. This cabin is actually where I decided to switch it up, because I was just going to do a single bed per cabin, and I decided in this one, and you'll see me make the change because I don't cut any of it out, but I actually make this one a 2-bed cabin. So it, funnily enough, it goes 1 bed, 2 bed, the next one is 3 beds, and the final one is a double bed, because I decided if you were a couple, you maybe would want to share a bed. I decided that needed to be represented at least. And this is clearly, the theme of this one is more, obviously it's green and yellow, but there's kind of a fishing theme to this one. I didn't go too hard with the themes, but in this one it felt right. It felt like it needed to happen. So this is more of your outdoorsy-ish cabin, if you will. I even add mounted fish because I thought they were cool. I decorate each porch with at least a chair and a little item, just to kind of, again, make it look like people are staying here. Their stuff is out. They're ready to go out and enjoy the lake and the lake life and all the activities that brings. I did remove a window from this one because the bunk beds blocking a window really bothers me. Like, it bothers me in a way I can't even explain. So I did remove that. So you have the double bunk bed there. And by double, I just mean there's actually 2. It's not a lofted bed. And then we have a lofted bed not blocking the window. And I do place a couch underneath. I also give this cabin a TV and a game console. So this would probably be really appropriate for like a single sim, or if your sim has children, like teens, preteens, even the kids, like I said, this would probably be the cabin for them because it has that game console. And it just looked really youthful. And then finally, we're moving on to the final cabin. Is this the final one? I might have lied. Yeah, no, this is the final one. So this is the double bed cabin. This one, It is a little cramped. I'm not going to lie to you. It's a little bit on the small side, but the bed worked for me. I didn't have any routing issues with it whatsoever, with the bathroom, with the dresser, none of it. It is on the small side, but like I said, I was able to access everything, and hopefully that stays true. But of course, with updates and things like that, you just really never know. But this is the final of the 4 cabins. And then after this, we're going to jump into the main building. Now, the main building, I've never been to a camp, so I don't know how like accurate this is. I was not a camp kid. I add like not a mess hall. I did initially make this a cafeteria, and you'll see it when I do the game room because I didn't clip it out. I went back and redid this room. This ends up being just like a space where there's vending machines. You can purchase like yogurt and drinks and stuff from the fridge. There's the toaster oven. So if you're like in the middle of the night or something and you need something for convenience, you can come here and grab it. Of course, it's going to be a higher price because that's the way the world works. But that's kind of what I wanted this to be. I really wanted it to be a cafeteria, but I wasn't confident it would function as one. And so I didn't want to leave it like that. I wanted everything to be really utilized. In between this room and the final room is a shower room. It's got 2 shower stalls. It looks kind of like the shower sections that you'll see when you go camping if you've ever been. And then this is just a game room. So I have a section back here that's for kids. This lot isn't really toddler friendly, but it is kid friendly and up. So they all have things to do. Toddlers, their items just look a little too cartoony and it didn't fit the vibe. So I made that choice not to make it friendly for them. So I'm sorry, but you can easily add those elements if you really want to have things for your toddler Sims to do. Now on this note, I am actually going to leave you guys here because we're going to finish up the exterior and then you're going to hit the screenshots, and there's really just not that much left of the video. So feel free to leave a like or comment down below letting me know what you think. Hopefully this sparked joy for you. You can also subscribe if you want to. I post every single Wednesday. Screenshots will be up on Instagram for you to enjoy as always. And in the meantime, between now and next Wednesday, I hope you have a lovely day, a lovely rest of your week, and I will see you very, very shortly. Bye, guys.
Suddenly, the world I used to know, I see it differently. You woke me from a dream, now here's reality. Baby, baby, you are really hurting me. 'Cause every time you tell me I look good and that I'm doing fine, but nothing ever changes. And now I see, baby, you are hurting me. Stuck in repeat. Stop lying. I know you're playing your part, but baby, it's breaking my heart. How could I know? If you don't need me, just let me know when I go. Truthfully, the game that you've been playing felt so real to me. I once believed that you could be my destiny. Baby, baby, you are really hurting me. Who is she? How can you reject me so